Hi there. Thanks for tuning in to Make This Happen, where we discuss an idea we've been dying to see come alive. Every week, my friend Alexander Gonzalez and myself, Jay Yee, will bring you a product you never knew you needed. How are you doing today, Alex?
I could be better, but I'm not that bad, Jay. How about you?
That's about the same. About the same how I feel.
I always feel like when I'm about to complain, I think of how much everyone else has to complain about, and then I shut right up.
Well, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about. I didn't know how to transition after that. Let's talk about Final Fantasy X.
Let's do it.
I want to make the clothesline. No, I'm just kidding. Because I did close like 2 weeks in a row. So instead, my idea.
You just have a store. It's like a boutique where every week or so, it just has a new stuff coming in. What were you thinking about doing Final Fantasy X? Where are we going?
Blitzball.
Oh, yeah, this is cool. Let's make a fucking sport.
Yeah. So you didn't play Final Fantasy X. Have you at least seen
the cutscene of Blitzball? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I got to the point where the big blue blob in the tutorial mission of the game is taking over, and I think that's like evil or seed or some weird name, and it's actually your father.
Oh, and
Blitzball.
That's definitely the coolest Blitzball cutscene in the entire game, is that original one, because they actually play, for the most part, a game while this whole thing, Sin, is taking over. Anyway,
Sin, there we go.
There's a whole meta game in Final Fantasy X where you play Blitzball and you could go around recruiting players, and like you could get players with special skills and better stats, and then you could find like special characters and named characters to join your team, right? And you could even recruit from other teams, and there's like a whole trading system and everything.
You may be going into this, but are we making it a real sport?
We are making it a real sport, but I just had to explain to you the basics of where Blitzball comes from.
Fuck yeah. So it's basically an underwater sport, but when you say underwater, it's not how it's portrayed. It's actually a sphere of contained water in the air so that an arena can watch them play. Exactly. Now that is impossible for us, but not completely. What I'm thinking now is, what if we were to do something where it's a tank, a really huge tank of water, and they all have scuba, like submersible air things that they can wear in their mouth, and they can play the game through water anyways, but everyone's looking through a tank. And the tank is huge. So I imagine it being the size of like a hockey rink and then going upwards to the ceiling where it's just contained in water. These guys got to have flippers too, I think. They got to be able to move fast.
So that's exactly what I was thinking, where they have to have scuba gear because no one in real life could hold their breath for like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
That's just impossible. So they're definitely going to need some kind of scuba gear. Hopefully, if we could think a little bit sci-fi here, we have technology where it's not clunky.
I imagine it like the movies where they just put on the mouth breathers, and that lasts for a certain amount of time. And I'm thinking with quarters and everything, you can swap out the air or swap out what you need to, the batteries, whatever you want, so it can keep going.
Right. And obviously there's like, you have to trade out when the coach knows, okay, this guy has been in here for too long. We have to do all the safety measures. Anyway.
Yeah, maybe like a player limit of play or something where there's a time limit that you can play.
You also read my mind. They definitely need flippers or fins or something to enhance their movement underwater.
Yeah.
Maybe I was even thinking maybe they could even have a propulsion system, like somehow attached to their uniforms.
I'd be cool with a propulsion system where it was a quick burst and it was on cooldown. So everyone has this burst, but you can only use it once every 30 seconds or so.
I mean, that's going to be really hard to like manage for the athletes. So I was thinking it's just advantage everyone has just to use these continually. But maybe the more you use it, you have to get onto the bench because you ran out of the propulsion and now you're at a disadvantage because you haven't use. So it's just an advantage
Oh,
everyone
yeah, that's
has.
actually really interesting because you could bring in some NASCAR components into it, where if they, hit the throttle too much, they're going to be out of gas, or
Right.
if they turn too hard, their tires are going to be eaten up, and they have to go in and pit.
Exactly. And
So
that's
players will have to do something similar in terms of air tanks and all that. And
yeah.
it even works where if they exert themselves too much early, they're going to eat through their air supply and have to be benched sooner.
Exactly. That's another thing I was thinking. You're like reading my mind right now, where you have to also go in to change your air because you're eventually going to run out, especially if we make them wear much smaller scuba gear instead of like the big air tank and
Yeah.
all that to lighten you up. You know what I mean? And maybe like goalies could have the bigger scuba gear so they could be there longer type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone will have different setups.
Now, we're going to have to make this ball pretty revolutionary in the sense it's going to be equal parts ball but equal parts underwater torpedo. Have you ever seen those at a pool party? You ever gone to one of your friends'
I've seen
house
like
and they have one of
underwater
those little
like football type deals.
Yeah, so it would have to be something where it's not completely solid but also hydrodynamic, so it can kind of move when you hit it but absorb impact.
You've also just read my mind where you can't have the Blitzball. Like it has to be different because that just doesn't work in real life. Also, I don't imagine this being underwater soccer like it is in Final Fantasy X because that's also not super possible in real life. This is going to be more like underwater rugby, right?
Yeah.
I also imagine it's instead of it being soccer where you throw it and then they kick the ball in. But now it's just you're trying to throw the ball into the goal. You know what I mean?
So it'll be like almost like equal parts water polo and what is Olympic handball.
Exactly.
Where it's something similar, where there's a certain marker or designation where you can't cross that line and there's a goal and there's a goalie in there, but you can throw it in from there or kick it or do whatever you need to do.
Right. And it could be like ultimate frisbee rules where once you have the ball, you could only move a certain amount, like swim a certain amount before you have to throw it. So it's pretty much exactly what you said. Part ultimate frisbee, part handball, and part water polo. And that accumulates into modern day blitzball.
Yeah, I like that. And I even already have ideas where, the halftime shows can be water acrobats who come in. You can do different lighting depending. The swimsuits can have team banners on them as well as sponsors. This is cool.
I wouldn't even argue where how there's of course different stadiums for sports and each stadium feels different, but I wouldn't even mind if each stadium they allow different types of architecture in this giant aquarium where maybe there's in one just ruined walls and one has sunken ships, just to add diversity and a home ground feel to it instead of it just being a boring empty tank. You know what I mean?
We'll make loose rules. So we'll say that it has to encompass that this Blitzball arena has to encompass so much volume because we're using water.
Right.
And then you can put up to it 4 or 5 different obstacles in a style of your choosing, and then we'll have rules for the obstacles. Like let's say the obstacles have to be symmetrical. If it's on one opposing side of the field, it has to be equally and at the same time put on the other side.
Right.
That way there's no clear advantages, but you can still have, like you said, really cool, interesting arenas where maybe one's based on a hometown and I'm just saying San Francisco, it has bridges on each side, which then you can kick off of, or bridges you can funnel through.
Exactly. So it just plays for more interesting play styles. Instead of just throwing the ball, you could also if you know your land really well, you could bounce it off of different areas to get it to certain places. That might give a little bit too much advantage to the home team, but maybe we could make it.
I'd say even then we'll make rules where the opposing team has 2 days or up to 2 days to practice on the away team's court when they get in.
And it could kind of be like baseball where it's just there's multiple matches between them. So you're going to be playing on their home field
Yeah,
multiple
and there's
times.
and there's stuff that happens like I know for baseball when they play in Colorado because the air's thinner, balls fly.
Yeah.
It's way easier to get home runs there. That's just how it is.
But yeah, I think
This is solid.
it's a good idea. It's just I understand very unlikely that it's even possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's such
Yeah,
a
yeah.
tough sport to play.
Well, it's
that's
hard to get
completely
a
underwater.
sport off the ground, but it sounds like we're actually making a good sport. I think with this, it'll be people aren't going to score that much, and then at halftime, switch sides. That way, even if there is an advantage or something in the arena, it doesn't matter. You switch sides, it all goes through.
Yeah.
I think this would be a ton of fun to watch because if you have close seats, you'll be able to see them battling. But even if you have bad seats, they're still good seats because it's a tank.
Right.
You know, they're going up, down, left to right. So it's not like you'll ever be away from the action. And then we'll have screens representing it as well from inside the tank. We'll have to have a referee in there as well as cameras, which at this point, we can have robot cameras that are getting the action by zooming in, but still staying on the periphery and not getting in the way.
Or like even just have cameras on the outside of the tank and looking in around the corners of the tank, and we'll just like zoom in and out and stuff and have active cameramen or whatever. And maybe like each home place has to have like place cameras around the field in optimal viewpoints of their field or something like that. All right. Well, I guess Square Enix?
Yeah. Why not?
I don't know. Square Enix and ESPN get together and do something and make this happen.
Hell
Thanks for listening. If you have any suggestions or products you'd like to see talked about, feel free to write in at @poundgames@gmail.com. We have a Patreon. If you'd like to join the @Pound family, come find us at patreon.com/wearenotgamedevs. Patrons receive episodes 2 days early, meaning Make This Happen gets to your ears that much sooner. If you enjoyed our show, take a second to give us a review. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Store, and more. Catch you guys next Sunday with Alex's idea.
We're going back into sports. I mean, I had no idea this was going to happen, but I'm talking about steroids.
Okay, let's do it.
Hell yeah.